Have you ever noticed two people can earn almost the exact same salary, live in the same kind of city, work the same number of hours, and end up in completely different places 10 years later? One of them is still counting days until payday, still stuck in the same loop, still waiting for something to change. The other slowly pulls away, builds something, and never seems to slide back. Same income, same starting line, completely different outcome. Most people assume the difference is money itself, that one of them simply earned more, got lucky, or had some advantage hiding in the background. But the gap usually appears long before the money does. Psychology suggests that the distance between a $0 life and a $1 million life is rarely about how much someone makes. It's about how they think before they make it. Certain mental patterns quietly separate the people who build wealth from the people who stay exactly where they are. And once you understand these patterns, you start noticing them everywhere. Here's what actually separates the two minds. 1. They see money as a tool, not a feeling. One of the biggest differences psychology highlights is how each mind experiences money in the moment. To a $0 mindset, money is emotional. It's relief when it arrives and anxiety when it leaves. It exists to be felt, to be spent, to turn a hard week into a comfortable weekend. So the moment money shows up, it has somewhere to go. A $1 million mindset treats money completely differently. To them, money is not a feeling to chase. It's a tool to direct. Every dollar is a small worker that can either be spent once or sent out to bring more back. While one mind asks, "What can this buy me right now?" The other asks, "What can this become later?" That single shift in the question changes the entire trajectory. Because over years, the person who keeps converting money into more money is playing a different game than the person who keeps converting money into momentary comfort. Same paycheck, two completely different destinations. 2. They stop thinking like someone who's broke. Many people stay financially stuck for a reason that has nothing to do with their bank balance. Poverty becomes part of how they see themselves. They start thinking in quiet, invisible scripts. Money is just not my thing. People like me don't get ahead. That kind of life isn't realistic for someone in my situation. And the mind is loyal. It protects whatever identity it's given. So a person who believes they're bad with money will unconsciously make the exact choices that keep that belief true. The $1 million mindset breaks this early, often long before the money arrives. They stop describing themselves as broke even when their account technically is. They begin thinking like someone who is simply early in the process rather than someone permanently behind. Their situation might not change overnight, but their self-image changes immediately. And psychology shows behavior tends to follow identity, not the other way around. People rarely build a life their own self-image says they don't deserve. 3. They make decisions with logic, not emotion. The $0 mindset and the $1 million mindset feel the exact same emotions. The difference is who's driving. A person stuck in scarcity often lets fear, excitement, frustration, and impatience steer their financial decisions. They buy when they're emotional, sell when they're scared, quit when they're discouraged, and spend when they want to feel better. Each decision makes sense in the moment and quietly damages the long game. A wealth-building mind learns to put a gap between the feeling and the action. They still feel the fear, they still feel the urge, but they don't treat every emotion as an instruction. They've trained themselves to ask, is this a decision or is this just a mood? That small pause is worth more than most people realize, because the majority of money mistakes aren't made in ignorance. They're made in emotion, and the person who can stay calm while others react is usually the one still standing when the dust settles. 4. They get comfortable being uncertain. Building anything from a $0 starting point involves a stretch of not knowing. No guarantee it works. No promise the effort pays off. No certainty the path leads anywhere at all. And the human brain hates that. It's wired to prefer safety, predictability, and the comfort of a known outcome, even if that known outcome is mediocre. This is why so many people choose the steady disappointment they understand over the uncertain possibility they don't. The $1 million mindset slowly makes peace with not knowing. They learn to act before the outcome is clear, to move while the picture is still blurry, to begin without proof it will all work out. They don't wait for certainty because they understand certainty usually arrives only after the opportunity is gone. While others stay frozen, waiting for a sign that never comes, this mind takes the imperfect step. And over time, those imperfect steps compound into something the cautious never reach. 5. They focus on becoming valuable, not looking successful. A huge amount of money disappears chasing one thing: the appearance of having money. The $0 mindset often confuses looking successful with being successful. The newer phone, the brand on the shirt, the lifestyle that photographs well, the quiet need to be seen as someone who has made it. The problem is that image is expensive, and it pays nothing back. The $1 million mindset is almost the opposite. It tends to obsess over becoming genuinely valuable before worrying about looking valuable. They pour their attention into skills, knowledge, and the ability to solve problems other people will pay for, because they understand the real sequence. Skills create value. Value creates opportunities. Opportunities create money. The person focused on looking rich is spending to seem ahead. The person focused on becoming skilled is building the very thing that produces wealth. One buys the costume, the other becomes the character. 6. They think in years, while others think in days. Maybe the deepest difference is the timeline each mind lives on. A $0 mindset usually thinks in short distances. This week, this paycheck, this month, this immediate problem. Decisions are measured by how they feel today, and anything whose reward is far away feels almost imaginary. So, the future keeps getting traded away for the present, again and again, in tiny, invisible exchanges. A $1 million mindset stretches the timeline out. They make choices today based on where those choices land in 5 or 10 years, not how they feel this afternoon. They're willing to be uncomfortable now because they can clearly see the version of themselves that benefits later. This is why patience looks so different on them. It isn't that waiting is easy for them, it's that they've trained themselves to value the future as if it were already real. And when you genuinely believe your future self exists, you stop robbing them to please the present one. 7. They take full ownership instead of blaming circumstances. There's one final pattern that quietly sits underneath all the others. The $0 mindset often hands responsibility to the outside world. The economy, the timing, the boss, the background, the bad luck, the people who had it easier. And some of that may even be true. But here's the trap. The moment everything is someone else's fault, nothing is in your control. And a mind with no control has no power to change anything. The $1 million mindset does something that feels almost unfair to itself on purpose. It takes ownership, even of things that weren't entirely its fault, simply because ownership is where power lives. If the problem is theirs, the solution can be theirs too. This isn't about guilt or blaming yourself for everything. It's about refusing to be a passenger in your own life. The person who says, "This is on me to fix," is the only person actually positioned to fix it. And that quiet sense of responsibility, more than any single skill, is what slowly turns a stuck life into a rising one. Notice that not one of these patterns required money to begin, not the way they see a dollar, not their identity, not their emotional control, not their comfort with uncertainty, not their focus on value, not their timeline, not their ownership. Every single one is a way of thinking that exists before the bank account ever catches up, which means the $1 million mindset isn't something a person earns after they get rich. In most cases, it's the thing that quietly makes them rich in the first place. The money is just the part everyone can finally see at the end. And this is the part most people miss. They wait to feel wealthy before they start thinking like someone who is. But it almost always works in the opposite order. The mind shifts first, quietly, invisibly, while the circumstances are still unchanged. Then, slowly, the life begins to rearrange itself around the new way of thinking. If you enjoy understanding the hidden psychology behind money, success, and the patterns that quietly shape people's lives, consider subscribing to the channel. Because once you can see the real difference between a $0 mind and a $1 million mind, you stop seeing wealth as something that happens to lucky people, and you start seeing it as something that begins quietly, in the way a person thinks long before anyone notices.